Welcome to the Right Hand Roadmap, the podcast for seconds in command of founder-led companies. I'm your host, Megan Long, owner of Second First. In each episode, we show you the path to success on your journey as the #2 leader in entrepreneurial companies. I am so happy you are here. Today, I want to talk to you about creating the perfect weekly schedule. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking our job is to be available. I have personally coached executives one-on-one where when I ask them what value it is that they bring to their team, they say, well, I'm always available. First of all, your team doesn't want someone that's always available, but that's a different episode. Constantly saying yes to meetings, taking blind Teams calls, and those office drive-by, hey, you got a minute, they all make you an ineffective leader. Ooh, or my biggest pet peeve, which is when someone just drops an appointment on my calendar without asking if that time works first. Unless I specifically say, go ahead and schedule a meeting anywhere you see blank space, don't touch my calendar. I know some of you feel the same way too. So this is the level of protection I want you to feel over your own schedule as we dive into the topic today. We'll start by revisiting a really easy tool, and then I'll share some hacks that I live by to make sure I never dread the week ahead or get the Sunday Scaries. Let's start with a tool that is commonly known, and it's in our time management lesson in the Second First framework. It's the ideal week. We have talked about this on the podcast before. It was introduced by Todd Duncan in the book Time Traps: Proven Strategies for Swamped Salespeople. It is not just for salespeople, though. The ideal week exercise is really the gold standard in becoming disciplined with your time, finding freedom in your calendar, and really regaining control of your week. The concept is that you are crafting your dream schedule from scratch and then adhering to it. So here are the steps. First, you identify the top activities you must spend time on. So list out all of your one-on-ones with your team, all of your team meetings, and then time to work on your rocks, your priorities. Also identify any revenue-producing activities or value-creating activities like new client proposals. Those also should always be a priority. And I will say when it comes to one-on-ones or team meetings, really evaluate whether your participation is necessary before adding them to this list. All right, next we're going to identify the top activities you want to spend time on. These can vary from professional, so continuing education, certification training, tackling a big project you haven't had time to start, all the way to personal, so self-care, exercise, actually taking a lunch break, or like going on an afternoon walk. After we have these two lists, the next step is going to be populating a template for your ideal week, which when I say a template, think a Sunday through Saturday calendar starting at 5 a.m. or whenever your day starts all the way to when you go to bed. It's super easy to make this in Excel yourself as well, where you just have a column for each day of the week, and then each row becomes half-hour or 15-minute increments. Usually like half an hour is fine. As you are filling in whatever you think your ideal weekly schedule should look like, it's important to create themes for your days as much as possible. So activities that require similar energy and similar focus should be scheduled together. So here's an example. All of your one-on-ones should be on the same day because they require the same type of energy and the same type of mindset. And another tip as you are filling in this template is to begin with your normal day-to-day life things. So meals, exercise, travel or commuting, getting ready for the day. It's important to plug those in because that will actually give you a realistic view of how much time you have left over. So you don't set yourself up for failure by overpacking your schedule. Okay, so after your template has your day-to-day have to do life things like I mentioned getting ready for the day, sleeping, eating a meal, things like that. Take the list of activities you must do that will always be part of your week. So this is like processing timesheets, submitting payroll, or like we talked about, one-on-ones with your team. Next, you want to time block for the most important revenue producing activities or value creating activities. So as we mentioned in creating that list, this is time to complete your rocks or time to prepare and present proposals. And then finally, you can fill in the gaps of things that you identified that you want to do. So if you notice on Thursdays you have a 2-hour block, maybe that can be when you pursue a certification. When you have your finished ideal week all mapped out, the last step is to execute. Blow up your current calendar without any guilt. So your team will understand that you're recreating your schedule and they should adjust their availability versus you adjusting to theirs. Now, to hold yourself accountable, I recommend printing out your ideal week template. Or if you're paperless, you can actually create a new blank calendar for yourself in either Outlook or Google and have it up either as an overlay or side by side as you're scheduling going forward. So you can actually see if you're scheduling a new client proposal. Okay, well, on Wednesday afternoons and Friday mornings is when I blocked out time for that. So I'm going to offer those times as opposed to, not adhering to your ideal week. Now, I have some suggestions when it comes to creating your perfect schedule. First is no meeting Mondays. This is a rule we have at Second First. No one is allowed to have any meetings with clients, prospects, partners, or internally on Mondays. There are a couple reasons for this. First, I have always read, and I'm sure you have too, this productivity hack to take time on Sunday night to review your calendar, prepare for the week ahead, gather anything you need for the week, etc. Yeah, I don't want to spend my Sunday evenings off work preparing for work. And I don't want my team doing that either. So if you know that you don't have any meetings on Monday, you know that you'll be able to ease into your week and use the first part of that Monday morning doing just that, reviewing the upcoming week, making priority lists, preparing for any meetings you do have in the week ahead. I never want Sunday Scaries to be a thing. I never want anyone feeling anxious during the weekend about the work week ahead. Now, I have talked to other entrepreneurs that disagree with me, and they say, well, I leave my Fridays open and I don't schedule meetings for Fridays. Why? Why would you do that? Friday is already such a good vibe. You have the weekend coming up. You might have plans that night. You're feeling social. Why would you not have meetings that day instead of trying to focus on heads down work? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So no meeting Mondays is definitely working for me. All right, second is one that I mentioned earlier, and that's if you have one-on-ones with team members, try to schedule them on the same day. I find that this is such a different type of energy and mindset than any other work that you do. And it's really helpful not having to switch back and forth into that mode throughout the week. It's also helpful in putting together the full picture of what is happening in the organization in that particular snapshot. So let's say you meet with your director of sales who oversees account management. They're complaining to you about an issue where an email blast went out to all of your clients. They fill you in about the particular client complaints they're getting and kind of the issues that it's caused. If you have all of your one-on-ones back to back, you're able to then get the perspective of each of those departments on exactly what happened. So an hour later, you meet with the marketing director and they can fill you in on exactly how it happened, how it's going to be prevented in the future, and you can help them craft a response to the clients that are upset. So you really can piece together the full picture if you don't have too much space in between these one-on-ones. All right, the third sounds so obvious, but it's drive time. Now, I live in Nashville where traffic is insane. So this might not be as big of an issue for you, but I always block 1 hour before and after a meeting offsite. just to ensure that I have enough time to get there and back. Even if it won't take me an hour, I don't want anyone calling or booking something too close to when I'll have to leave and risk me being late. Remember, punctuality is part of your personal brand, and some people are really sensitive to first impressions. This is actually something I probably need to work on, being a little more flexible with my first impressions of people. But my most valuable resource is my time. So if you waste it, it's really hard for me to unhook from that annoyance. And I know a lot of people share that feeling. All right. And the fourth tip, the very last one, is to leave blank space on your calendar, but protected blank space. So what do I mean by that? Just mark it as an appointment on your calendar that says no scheduling or focus time. Or you can even just mark it as a private appointment so no one can see what it says. They just know that it's not available space on your calendar. However you execute it, make sure that you have dedicated time that is unavailable for meetings where you can actually do deep work, catch up, work on rocks or big projects, really dive into your priorities. To find show notes and links for anything mentioned in this episode, visit secondverse.com/26. Be sure to subscribe to catch future episodes and leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Remember, you don't have to navigate being a second in command alone when you have the right hand roadmap.